Welcome everybody. This is Career Lab Wednesday. I'm your host, George Miller. I'm here almost every week. I said Wednesday, April Fools. I meant Tuesday. Used to be on Wednesdays, doing more and more Tuesdays as I have got conflicts on Wednesdays now. So April Fools, it's not Career Lab Wednesday, it's Career Lab Tuesday. And I'm going to share some about having a sense of humor, being a leader, using levity to, having some distance from yourself when needed. We'll dive into this, but before I get into that, I want to say that if you're joining in, there's a few ways you can engage. You can jump in directly here on Zoom. Love it when you do that. We had a few people in last week where I was able to work, get a lot done with them. So if you can jump in on Zoom, if not, I get it. If you are listening in or if you are wanting to remain anonymous, you can still type your questions into the comments section and I can address your questions to the best of my ability that way. So if I do that, if you notice that I'm on to one of your questions and I'm getting off track or I'm not addressing exactly what you're wanting to be addressed, let me know. Just type in, no, George, my question is more around this area. Just you can type in your questions and then also type in your responses to keep me on track. So there's a few ways you can engage. Again, typing in your comment sections, or you can jump in directly here on Zoom. And also, I do one-to-one sessions. I do a 15 to 20-minute meeting with you. Oftentimes, it just gets you kind of the security that you were looking for, or you're like, okay, good. I thought I was on track with this. I just wanted to check it out. Or if it's a bigger challenge, then we can discuss what a coaching relationship might look like. So there's several ways to engage with me. As I'm sharing this topic today, as I'm talking about leadership and a sense of humor, I want you to know that you can ask any questions at any point in time. You don't have to stay on this topic. You can ask a question about your resume, your interview process, about your relationship with your boss, about how you're managing your team. So any questions career related are fair game. Go ahead and type them into the comment section. You don't have to stay on the topic of self-aware humor, building stronger leadership. So I think this came up last week when we were talking about how important it is to make mistakes as a developing person. And I want to just clear the stage around leadership. I see everybody as a leader. It's not, if I am relegated to a designated term that, one person is a leader and not another person, it doesn't work as well. What is way more usable for everybody is that everybody is leading, and the question is, what are they leading towards and how are they leading? So that works for a boss who is leading towards creating whatever product that company is creating, and they are leading towards more mutuality and more open lines of communication in the organization. And that's what they're doing. So that's how they then communicate. And if I'm in that company and I'm a new hire, and then I'm looking at, okay, am I leading towards those same things? Am I leading towards more curiosity, more open lines of communication? I'm leading towards asking questions that are helpful, So when I change the framework around leadership, it's really helpful. Instead of it being a designated role that just some people have and other people don't have. So when I look at it that way, then if I am leading towards something greater than where I'm at right now, it means that I'm going to make mistakes. It means that if I'm going to learn and grow, I've got to make mistakes to do so. And the research on this is amazing. Basically, as an adult, a lot of my open, like just downloading and learning at a very deep level changes. And to learn new things requires discomfort, requires a breaking or a stretching of the way that I have seen myself, the way I understand myself. It's going to require a stretch, and there will be discomfort, and I will make mistakes. In fact, it's usually only when I make a mistake that I actually learn. And so that's a bind, because I have a job, and if I make any mistakes in it, then that's bad, and I could get into trouble around it, and then I could criticize, I'm going to have all kinds of self criticisms about it. I mean, that all kind of happens. And some mistakes can be made that are so big that you ultimately lose the job. It only doesn't work out. And if I'm unwilling to make any mistakes, though, that will tend to happen more. So I'll give some examples of this. I'll give some stories around it. And I'll say that over the whole context is that when I'm making mistakes, it can really help to have a sense of humor about it. And a sense of humor helps me learn, helps me integrate, helps me learn from my mistakes, instead of just say, oh, never do that again. Or, oh, see, if I take a risk and it doesn't work out, that's an example. I should never do that again. And that's we want to get better at making mistakes. We want to be more resilient and come back from those faster. And a sense of humor really, really, really helps with that. Um, this might be kind of common knowledge if you're in the leadership development space at all, but you look at any of the great people that we look up to, any fantastic uh, sports star, uh, actor, military strategist, whatever, anybody that we look up to, they have made so many mistakes. They usually fail more than they succeed. But over time, their successes add up to a great deal. So the number one thing that they just do more than anybody else is they take action, they take risks. You look at that with any of the NBA players, from Michael Jordan to SGA or Nikola Jokic. Like, they are experimenting. They take more shots. They make more passes. They go for making more passes. And sometimes they're intercepted, but they're just doing it more than other people. So being able to take meaningful risks and make those mistakes, then I will learn from it more. So the biggest mistake that people make is not taking risks in the first place. Okay, so that's kind of the overall context. And I do want to dig into this sense of humor thing. And so I will work my way there. Again, as you're listening in, ask any questions. Feel free. You do not have to stay on topic with this. So I a client I'm working with a few years ago realized that one of the ways that they took themselves so seriously, they're so smart, really good at their job, and they have a huge project ahead of them. And it is critical that they are driving their part of the agenda. They really understand the consumer. That's their gift. They are good at communicating with the consumer, getting feedback, and integrating it into the software. And the one of the main people in the project then said, "Come to me whenever you need. Let me know what you need from me." And they had a disagreement early on about how to go about um, implementing consumer feedback. And so what my client ended up doing, which was a big mistake, was to try to get everything right before presenting it. And what happened over time was that things weren't quite working out, and they started to see the person that they were supposed to be reporting to more, which would have helped things, that they're not doing it. And so now there's more and more distance there. And eventually they basically work themselves out of the project. Essentially were let go. And it was primarily due to the fact that they did not battle it out more with that person, and that they did not reach out for more support and to say, I think we've got serious issues with this plan here. They kept trying to fix the plan and work within confines that weren't going to work. And so the end result was that the entire project was a failure. And my client did not take a bunch of risks and make a bunch of mistakes towards the final goal of success with this project. And so as we're looking at this, you know, I was so impressed with my client that they were able to have a sense of humor about it. That they were like, wow, the way that I was going at that alone and on my own really, really, really didn't serve me. Wow. And they even kind of they were able to draw a reference to their personal life with their their spouse and with their kids, and say, wow, I do the same kind of thing where I just work on a project for one of them and then go try to implement it and it doesn't work. Oh my gosh. This is really something that this is an issue that I have. But they did it with a sense of humor. And I was so relieved because they could have. And I mean, many times I just go to when I realize mistakes that I'm making, and I just am so hard on myself. And when I do that, all I'm doing is I'm rewiring um, that that internal that mistaken belief that then is saying, oh, see, you shouldn't take that kind of risk. See, when you take that kind of risks, bad things happen. And it leads me to not want to take meaningful risks. So having a sense of humor about it and saying, oops, yep, that was a mistake. Oh, that's a groaner. Oh my goodness. That gives me some self-compassion and allows me the space to say, you know what, that was a mistake. and I'm going to do better next time. I'll do I have a chance at making that the next time because I am learning from this now. Oh wow, that's what didn't work for me. This is a big deal for me, for me personally, and for everybody that I work with, is how to have a sense of humor about myself in a way that's not demeaning, that's not putting me down, but is just looking at, what it means to be a human and giving myself a little space, a little grace, and being like, yeah, um, I am not enough for the task at hand. And yet somehow, sometimes I rise to the occasion and I make things happen and I surprise even myself. And uh, that willingness to try things out and to make mistakes is so important in leadership development. And having a sense of humor about myself it makes that way more likely. So that's what I, was thinking about today on April 1st, as, you know, we look at mistakes and are moving into the next quarter. So I can look back on what are the mistakes I made over the past 3 months. And my goodness, I've made a lot of mistakes, in my business, in coaching, in relationships. I have made a bunch of mistakes. And by allowing myself to look at them, I am able to actually learn. Oh, cool, cool. So I'm getting a comment that best leaders I've known could laugh at themselves while still commanding respect. This workshop sounds fantastic. Yeah, yeah, right. So so you didn't ask a question there, but I'm gonna imply a question off of it. Thank you for the comment. That's helpful for me to give some direction here. Um, you know, a leader that can laugh at themselves while still commanding respect, because what they're what the leader is leading towards is what's important. You know, I'm able to make a mistake and laugh about it because I know that my overall goal is something that I'm striving for. There's an objective that I have. And so with my team, when I can laugh at myself about it and say, "Oh, see, but I'm moving towards what we're working on." That's empowering. And that communicates to everybody else on the team, "Oh, look, I can make mistakes too. I get to try things out and I don't have to be perfect." And it helps move in the direction that we're going as a team. And the respect piece that a leader commands is that they are taking the risk. And that does then command more respect. See, I'm willing to take these risks towards the outcome that we want. So thank you for that comment. I would love to know if you've got a question on your heart. Is there a leadership challenge that you are working through right now? Or whether that's how you're navigating interviews or working with the team that you currently have. What's a challenge that you have? What's on your heart? What would you like some coaching around? So let me know. Again, you can type into the comment section. You can type into the chat. What questions do you have? And I'll keep riffing on this, having a sense of humor, being able to laugh at yourself while still commanding respect is really quite a skill. And it shows a level of maturity and confidence that I don't have to be right all the time. That and this is huge. I mean, for me as a coach, that's one of the things that people have said, that it's like I will take risks with people and make observations and say what I think. And the number of times the client says, no, George, it's way off. It's more like this, but that assertion, that intervention that I make, that I go for, then helps them say, oh no, it's not that. And it gives them something to bump up against and say, no, I want to go in this direction. And it helps create a focus. It helps create momentum. And so taking risks in that direction, again, is what's so important. And the respect that a leader can command, or anybody can command, is I want an outcome. This is the goal that we have. And I took some actions towards it. These ones didn't work so well, and these ones did. And that invites other people to take more risks themselves, to try it out more. I was just working with somebody around what they're doing in their career, and that they basically just weren't networking enough, weren't taking the risks to pick up the phone, to send the emails, send LinkedIn messages, and they were spending a lot of time writing cover letters for different jobs and applying that way. And it's like, well, has that worked for you? Have you gotten anything that you wanted that in that way? Is just responding to job as worked? No. Well, okay. So what are some other risks that you can take that might get different results? And they start reaching out more to their network and saying what they're looking for. And then they start getting more responses. But a lot of people didn't respond. And some people would say, like, why are you reaching out to me about this? No, I'm working on this now, and I don't have any connections there. Like, oops, my mistake. Good connecting though, good to hear what you're up to. And you see how that shift happens when I'm willing to just acknowledge the mistake that I'm making, and that, or the rejection that's happening, or whatever. And that over time builds grit, builds resiliency. And it's just getting the exercise in of saying, okay, I'm going to go for it. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, I'm going to go for it again. And it's also important to be with the feelings around it, to acknowledge the hurt and the anger of a rejection, because that's true too. And that's part of resiliency. Because if I'm just pretending, if I'm always putting on a stiff upper lip, or just pretending that stuff doesn't get to me, it was not true. And I end up tanking more in the future and needing more time to recover and all of that sort of thing. So the more that I allow myself to be with whatever upsets that are happening, the faster I can recover. So thanks for the comment. We're coming up on half an hour here, and I just want to check with anybody else before I sign off today. Is there any more questions that you have? Anything on your heart? You can type your questions into the comment section, and I will do my best to answer your question or guide you point you in the right direction. Go ahead and type your questions into the comment section. And as I'm wrapping up here, I want to say that there's a few ways that you can engage with me. You can set up a time to meet with me one-to-one. If you've got a question about your career specifically, where you're in a transition perhaps, and you're just looking at options, or if there's some block that you have in your development, I love meeting with people. I can often help you sort something out pretty quickly, and if not, we can look at what a coaching relationship would look like. And another way that you can engage is to use the personality assessment that we have. You can take that quiz. It's a quick thing, take you about 10 minutes. And then there's a video that you can review. And you can use it. So many organizations use this stuff. And, you know, the reason why I made this one is because I just want it to be a gift for people to know more about themselves and to be able to better assess other people and say, oh, okay, that's that personality style. Oh, cool. Here's a couple things I can do to speak that language better, so I can be more of an effective communicator with them. And oh, this is a helpful way for me to get outside my comfort zone, is if I'm talking to somebody that really likes bottom line communication, great, I can say to that person, oh, here's the results that I've seen. And just getting practice with that so that you are able to make more of an impact with the people you're talking to, that you're better able to assess the personality style in front of you, and you can deepen a relationship quicker. And so that's a helpful tool for you. And then, of course, there's my YouTube channel where I post everything from these live streams to fun stuff around hypnosis and ice water. And then there's also more educational videos on there as well. So check that out. Well, everybody, thanks for joining in today. I will be back next week. And reminder, you can ask any question career related. And my job is to answer your questions and support you in developing in your career. All right, everybody, many blessings. Happy